I'm here with a guest in the studio, our in-house analyst, Ikenna Mbah. So Ikenna is going to discuss with me further on this wonderful development. So, Ikenna, yes, we heard from the Minister for Trade, Industry and Investment, how she talked about how this is it's a long time coming. We've always wanted this in this country, but her emphasis was on after-sales care. So yes, we have the vehicle manufacturing plants, which is wonderful, but how can we ensure that we have the spare parts for people who buy these vehicles? As you know, in Nigeria, made in Nigeria cars are not too common. They are, most of the time we see international brands on our streets, whether you're in Lagos or any other city. So how can we ensure that, like the minister said, the most important thing is that people can get easy access to the spare parts for this vehicle? So what would you recommend as to how people can get easy access to vehicle spare parts and also after sales care?
Thank you so much for having me on the show today. So there are many ways to look at this, and one of them being that usually, first of all, government must make that sector an area where people can play level grounds on for all. For instance, there should be more than just 2 or 3 made in Nigeria manufacturers when we talk about cars, apart from Innocent and Mustafa.
Yeah, the electric vehicles owner.
So now we're talking about climes where there are multiple car manufacturers. So there are choices that you can make from a myriad of choices you can make your choice. Definitely, that's one. Secondly, it shouldn't be, because what happens is when you have just one place to go to, when you have you're looking for parts, when you're looking for fixing of your maintenance and stuff, if you have just 1-2 people, then there's a monopoly. So prices are fixed on a high level. People might not be able to afford those things. So when you have more people, an array of choices, options to choose from, then people will easily be able to, there's competition. And what that does is it cuts the prices down and everybody's happy. Also, we need more than one. Again, you can't overemphasize. We need more than 1, 2, 3 companies to cater to the needs of Nigerians. But on the flip side of that, a lot of people do not trust made in Nigeria products. And I say that with a little bit of inhibitions, because what we've noticed is these products are, what's the word now? Not substandard, but they're made to expire, quote unquote, quickly, so that you would go back to purchase them again. Because what's the point where you buy one product and it lasts you for a year, 2 years, 3 years? Like when you buy the regular cars, they says for the first 3-4 years, no need to do any type of what's the word now? Maintenance, change your oil. Now, when you see many of the made in Nigeria products, you buy, it doesn't last more than a month, 2 months. And many are saying that from research and from questionnaires, as many are saying, look, we won't die of hunger. We want people to come back every time to buy again. So you buy something, it's spoiled in 2-3 months, you go back and buy some more. So these are some of the things we need to put structures in place to curb those sort of products that we will use in Nigeria.
Okay, well said. Okay, so yes, quality is a very key factor. I understand that we had issues in the past with other Nigerian products, but cars is not something anyone should joke with, because if you want a situation whereby you'll be hearing we have to recall the vehicles for one technical issue or the other. But that being said, yes, you mentioned quality of the cars. You also mentioned the fact that sometimes the products used for these vehicles might expire quickly, and that's also due to the bad quality. But that being said, people who use vehicles, for example, like Innocent Motors, those issues haven't really been raised with them. Yes, quality vehicles, they have both cars, buses, luxurious vehicles, also the SUVs, also they haven't had these issues with them. So I believe if the government is more the government patronizes these vehicles, you will see more Nigerians also patronizing them. It's not just going to be, oh, Innocent has finished manufacturing and then he's begging people to come and buy from him, or Mustafa Audu has finished manufacturing the electric vehicles and he's begging people to come and buy. No, if we have the government intervention in this sector, definitely nobody be worried about lack of patronage or lack of not making enough
Correct.
profit.
That's another point, because usually in our climb, the government in this case is usually first to show that, okay, we trust these guys, we trust the quality of their product, so we will patronize them. So that's what they're trying to say. So when government does that, like for instance, a few years ago or periodically, when government purchase cars for their workers and government officials,
Yes.
why is it for want of not mentioning other brands, why is it brands from Asia? Why is it brands from Europe? Why are they not made in Nigeria brands? And I know 1, 2 politicians that patronize made in Nigeria brands, but it's not enough because you can look at those people and be like, okay, maybe this guy is his friend, maybe because Charis is his friend, maybe Mustafa is his friend. But when government says, okay, for our officials, we're buying Innocent or we're buying, I keep forgetting, what's your
Yeah, Mustafa Aldu's cars, the electric motor
electric
vehicles.
EMV? Yes. So if government makes those purchases in large scale, 50 for senators, 300, then the people will begin to trust and be like, okay, then that means we can do this as well. But that's what we're saying. Government need to patronize Made in Nigeria more. It'll help
Yes.
bolster the confidence of Nigerians.
Okay, that's very true. Well said. Okay, now, yes, it will help bolster the confidence of Nigeria. But there's this just about how apart from quality, the price. Now, one would think that a vehicle made in Nigeria will be relatively cheap and affordable, and everybody can get it, even if it's a small 2-door car or a small 4-door car. I mean, we should be able to afford it, but that's not the case because Innocent Motors has brands that are quite small, smaller cars, and they are really expensive. So people still prefer to go for the other Asian brands like the Japanese cars because those ones are more. The prices are reasonable compared to.
But if I come in here again, the thing is, right? These made in Nigerian cars haven't had the opportunity to have used what we call Tokumbo vehicles. They haven't had the opportunity to get to a point where there are Nigerian used vehicles, so they're all brand new. Now, when you place it side by side with the Asian or American or European counterparts, they're almost the same price. Now, when people say they don't go for the Nigerian cars because those ones are not available, the used, so you can get the used in the Asian cars because they've been around long enough. But if you're talking brand new, which is what we're saying, so people that buy brand new cars, especially government officials, should patronize them, and that way it will make it easier for people, also Nigerians, to patronize those cars. So if you see, for instance, an Innocent car that's 5 million, for instance, if you go to the Asian counterparts, US counterparts, they're the same price. But the thing is, when you find a used, let's say for instance, yeah. So when you now go to the Asian counterpart and they have used cars that you can buy for 3 million, for 2 million, for instance.
Yes.
So that's what the issue is. But about brand new and the pricing is equally, patronizable, if I may put it like that.
If you may put it like that, okay. But still on the quality now, we know that when compared with the international brands, yes, as you mentioned, they've been around long enough, and the countries where these vehicles are made are well established, and they also buy their own country's vehicles, so it's not a new thing for them. So we have the fact that these vehicles have been around long, and they also share a very large, a good patronage from their home countries to before they are exported to other countries. So even before we start talking about after sales care in Nigeria, we have to first of all take care of our population, make sure they like these vehicles. Then other citizens from other countries will be interested in getting a made in Nigeria car, for example. So, okay, now how can local manufacturers ensure that they improve on the quality of their vehicles? And that's so, like, if you compare this with the international brands, the international branded cars.
Well, the only one thing that can be done, only one thing, you have people that do quality control. You have people that's, how I like to say it, you have people looking over your shoulder to make sure your work is being done. Because many times people don't function outside of this scope of work. So when you have people in quality control that they have to ensure, because that's their work, ensure that this thing is, if it's, for instance, it has to be 3 inches thick, it has to be 3 inches thick. It's not half an inch thick, and before you know it, they've used it, they wrapped it around whatever, and you can't tell. And when the thing goes bad in a few months, they're like, okay, what's going on? They're like, no, it's top quality. No, it's not top quality because you haven't done your job. So the only thing to do is have those people in check and make sure they see through every process of that cycle where those materials are being produced.
Okay, and when compared, because we know over the international standards, they do
Of
all these
course,
checks
those checks are in
completely.
place. And so for Nigeria, we need to do that because we have proven time without number that we need someone to watch over what we're doing.
Now, what impact will the rise of made in Nigeria vehicles have on the country's economy, particularly with job creation and with skill acquisition centers?
First and foremost, is going to bolster it upwards. Upwards in the sense that we're not going to be doing a lot of um, sending our funds out of the country. For instance, those funds that we used to order those cars overseas online would be in-house. So we're keeping that money in here. Then as those new plans come up and pop up, we'll have a chance to employ more people. Apart from more people, we'll have more people, more hands, and people that are interested in our made in Nigeria cars. Because then, for instance, now let's say out of every 10 cars on the road is one made in Nigeria car. At that point, out of every 10 cars, there'll be 4 cars. So you're like, there's a variety to choose from. You're like, oh, this made in Nigeria car. Oh, this made in Nigeria car. And it begins to grow because that's how it grows, little by little. So it's going to definitely up our economy and shake things up a bit.
Okay, okay, and this is a very good thing to hear because this is a skill that doesn't really require you having a BSc or a master's degree. It just requires knowing how to operate the machinery
Exactly.
and
Assemble.
yes, assemble it together and just make sure the parts are of good quality standard and we're good to go. So this is wonderful. Now, the success of local manufacturing often relies on lower labor costs, as you know, in Nigeria, for
Mhm.
things that deal with skill acquisition. People believe they don't really need to be earning too much money. So, how can the industry ensure ethical labor practices to avoid a discrimination in this sector? Because, as you notice, people who are mechanics, who are dealing with skill acquisition, and people who have to use their hands to make things, people believe they shouldn't be making too much money. I mean, it's just to put together some parts and that's it. So how can we ensure there is no discrimination in this industry?
It's something that is again, in Nigeria, a lot of our things are peculiar. It's just I don't know whether we're blessed like that for a reason. So first and foremost, we must eliminate tribalism. First and foremost.
You
So
think
it's
it's
not
a tribalism issue?
it's one of the many things. One, first of all, okay, for instance, let's say the electric vehicle manufacturer
Mustafa
Mustapha's company.
Audu, yes.
Imagine if you go apply for work and they're like, okay, it's not going to be in the open. For instance, they'll be like, okay, we're going to be taking people from a certain part of the country first of all, and if those people are not available, you're
Well, this is an
telling the
assumption,
company.
right?
No, I'm saying that many of us, let's face the truth. Facts are many of us as Nigerians are like that. It's not out in the open, but it's underlying. So what I'm saying is we must eliminate that for starters. Secondly, when you go overseas, you go to Europe, you go to Asia, the highest earners are the handymen, are the skillsmen. For instance, you see a guy says, okay, you're in the UK, you live in Liverpool, and you want to change. What's the littlest thing over here? You want to change in your vehicle, for instance. You want to change your brake pad, for instance, right? You buy your brake pad, how much? Maybe 2,000 naira, and your mechanic fixes it, and you're like, okay, hold this 2K, my guy. He's happy, right? But in Liverpool, you want to change your brake pad, you're paying as much as 200 pounds. And that's over here is crazy. So now, for that to be possible or that to be going on, they know this guy deserves this money. He's a skills guy. And without the guy, your car wouldn't move. You can't do it yourself. That's why also on the side, a lot of people are involved in DIY, do it yourself type things. They learn from those people. And a lot of times, those people don't want to give away their trade secrets because at the end of the day, you're depriving them of their money.
Yes, yes.
So we must also see those people as valuable and pay them their worth because they are specialized skill people, So it is what it is.
Yes, and more education and enlightenment because we see mechanics, carpenters, plumbers. Oh, yeah, it's just a skill. I mean, we don't really add them. These
Not
people are
big
not
anymore.
so
And
educated.
many times they do it quickly. You're like, it just
Oh,
took you two
2 minutes
minutes.
to do, and
You want me to pay you X amount, But he
yes.
knows what he knows. His skill is his skill,
Yes, that's very true. Okay, so now the Nigerian Automotive Design Development Council has been criticized for favoring certain companies, but how can we ensure that there's a level playing field that fosters sustainability in this industry? So let's just, like you mentioned, tribalism, but I don't really want to agree with that. But how can we just ensure that with this development of made in Nigeria vehicles, and the fact that the federal government is also going to be partnering with private vehicle manufacturers, that we have a level playing field for this? So perhaps, for example, we could have vehicle manufacturing plants in Lagos, in Abuja, Port Harcourt, in Calabar, all over the country. So we don't have to say, oh, it's where there are specific resources that we have this vehicle plants. It shouldn't be that way. So what would you recommend to ensure there is a level playing field for more private business owners that want to go into this manufacturing sector?
First and foremost, we need to change the way we've been doing business, the way we've been thinking, and the way we've been should I say, aligning with certain things or certain people or certain beliefs. Because ordinarily, we should say, okay, to spread things around, government should be like, okay, let's partner with the private sector. Let's set up, for instance, the refinery. For the car manufacturing, let's set up 4 plants in the 4 regions to cater to the 4 regions. Now, what this does, it will create jobs for people in those regions. So when you see the prospects and what this is going to do, then you know, like, okay, we're doing this in the north. Where do we situate it? Kaduna. We're doing this in the south. Where do we situate it? Port Harcourt or Calabar. We're doing it to the east, Enugu, like that. So it's evenly spread. We know we're caring for ourselves, not saying, okay, we're going to do just one, and whoever is in charge, because he's from Benue, he goes and he situates it in Benue. And for instance, maybe not a lot of people are driving in Benue. So it not only affects everybody, it doesn't even benefit you that think you have done it for a good reason. So we must begin to think as one. We must begin to care and think extensively, not just selfishly. We should think the nation, we should think our people, we should think the masses and what makes their life easier.
Okay, well said, Mr. Mbah. So thank you so much for joining us on Market Insight this morning as we talked about this welcome development of Made in Nigeria vehicles, how our federal government is also going to partner with private business owners that are building manufacturing plants. And as the Minister for Trade, Industry and Investment said, we need to have more manufacturing plants for after-sales care and the car sales part. So this was really great discussing this topic with you, and I look forward to having you again on Market Insight.
Thank you, Lovina. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's look at our money markets this morning for Thursday, 9th May. Let's look at how the Naira is faring when selling against the dollar, pound sterling, and the euro. So these are our official CBN rates and the parallel market rates. So for this morning, the dollar at the CBN rates is selling for 1,212 Naira to $1, and at the parallel market rates it's 1,445 Naira to $1. The pound sterling is 1,536 Naira to £1 sterling, and at the parallel market rate it is 1,840 Naira to £1 sterling, and the euro it's 1,325 Naira to €1. In the parallel market it's 1,540 Naira to €1. So those are our money market figures this morning. Many thanks for watching the program. Do stay tuned to our news updates. I am your host, Lovina Emma.